Welcome to today's devotional. I hope you're having a good day. We're looking today at Proverbs chapter 8, verse 4. Now, as we've been working our way through Proverbs, when we get to chapter 8, we get a chapter that's completely devoted to an important theme, and that theme is that wisdom is something that is godly. And so from that we could say, well, it's moral, or there's something special about wisdom. It's a really important thing. It's not merely just good ideas, or some way to get what I want. It's like a formula or something. It's not quite that way. Now, throughout the early chapters of Proverbs, is making a lot of points about choosing a good path, choosing carefully, and being deliberate, and that your outcomes, your eternal outcomes, even are dependent on this. And so, as it builds these cases, it gets to chapter 8, and then it says, like, listen, like, wisdom is a very godly thing. It's really important. And so that's what we're looking at here in chapter 8. So we've done the first three verses, and we're coming to verse 4. In the first three verses, it starts out with this phrase, and you can read them yourself if you haven't already. You can read them yourself later, but the first verse is kind of saying something along the lines of, not the words, but the intention of the first verse is along the lines of, like, this is an obvious thing, right? Isn't it obvious? Wisdom is part of humanity. And then it goes to kind of say how wisdom, and it kind of personifies wisdom. It's like a woman who's on the side of the road calling to you, in the path of your life, or the crossroads of your life, to make good decisions, or like a woman at the gate calling to you and saying, the things that come in and out of your life, calling to you saying, be wise, and so that's kind of what's been building here. In verse 4, it says, this is wisdom speaking and calling out, and says, to you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. Now, the phrase here, to saying men, it's referring to humanity, right? So it's you, you could say, to you, humanity, I call, and to the children of humanity, I call. It's written in the masculine, but the intention is to all humanity. And the call there is being specifically directed to humanity. And this is an important part of verse 4. When we're doing a look at each verse, like we are, we kind of want to draw out the meaning of each verse. And verse 4's meaning is really clear. Like, wisdom is given to humanity. There's a special place in the world for humanity. It's not the same as other things. Humans aren't the same as rocks, obviously, but just to say it, they're not the same. And to have a planet made of nothing but rock that spins along in the universe is not that exceptional. There's billions and billions of those things out there. There's nothing special about that. And you put a bunch of plants on top of those rocks, some soil and plants. Does that, are they special? Well, they're unique, but not special in the sense of what the Bible teaches. You put a bunch of animals on top of that. Are they special? Well, yeah, in a sense, they're unique, but they're not like humanity. And the biblical account of creation, the biblical message throughout the Bible, is that humanity is not like the rest of creation. It's not the same. While there are all kinds of different things in creation, humanity is actually different in a unique way. It is unique above all the other things in creation. In particular, humanity was created, it says, in the image of God, or in the likeness of God. And so there's something about humanity that the rest of the creation on this planet doesn't share, or the rest of the creation in the universe, the stars and the galaxies, they don't share that distinction. And it makes humanity very special in the world. And so wisdom calling to humanity is not calling to the rocks, it's not calling to the animals, not calling to the plants or to the galaxies, calling to you, O men, you, O humans. Wisdom is calling to us. It's part of the specialness of human creation. So in order to really get this, I really think I need to nail an idea here and maybe come against an idea that's very common in our modern world. And that is that humans are merely another animal on the planet. And that is simply foreign to what God taught us in the Bible. That is definitely not what he taught us in the scriptures. Humans are actually not animals in the scriptural thinking. And the truth is, in the ancient world, they weren't treated as if they were animals. And even in the ages that have come since the ancient age, into the Middle Ages, into the modern era, it is only very recently that people started to define humans merely as another animal on the planet, a unique animal on the planet. It wasn't even that long ago that people were saying, well, humans and animals aren't even the same thing. But then there's some that even today, and so even in scientific communities today, that would say, well, birds and fish and insects aren't even animals; they're a different category. And so this definition that we kind of see being very popular in the world now, that there's sort of like the animals include all the biological organisms that exist other than plants, and that includes humans. So we're no different really than an insect. Is a very dangerous way to think, very very dangerous way to think, and it is certainly unbiblical, or I'll say ungodly. God created humans different than the animals. There's similarities, clearly. There's similarities between us, but that doesn't mean we're the same. There's also similarities between humans and God, but we're not God. But there's similarities. He made us like him, and that makes us different. When he made humans and he made us in his image, one of the things he said in the early creation, when we go back to the book of Genesis in the Bible, one of the things he said is, because you were made in my image, killing a human isn't acceptable. You might go out and kill a deer to eat it or something, but you can't kill a human the same. And it literally says in Genesis, for man was made in the image of God. Like, there's a special protection on humans by God because we were made in his image. And you can't just treat a human the way you treat an animal, especially in the area of murder or killing. But then there was also other differences that humans were given because of their position, because of their createdness in the image of God. They were given dominance over the world and over the animals and over the creatures and all the cattle and all the different types of living creatures that creep and crawl on the earth. And he uses these kinds of imagery and these kind of words to give this sense of, we're not that. We're not the creatures that creep and crawl. We're not the cattle. We're not the birds that fly in the air or the fish in the sea. We are different. And we were given dominance and rulership over all those things. Not in some sort of like self gratifying way, but in a stewardship sense of being like God, who cares for humans, and we, like him, we're given this job of caring for the created order. But that makes us different than the created order. We're told in the creation account, humans named the animals and basically defined by naming them, defined them, defined their what they were all about. It's a different role. And it's very important that we understand that. The modern tendency to redefine humans as merely another one of the things that lives on the planet is so dangerous. And here's the reasons it's dangerous. Because one, it degrades the sanctity of human life. If we're no different than an insect, then the reasons that you can kill a human grow. There's all kinds of reasons now that you can kill a human. And it can be that you find, and we do see this, where people will actually value animal life over human life, and that's just such a wrong thing. But this is what happens when we start to redefine things, when we start to decide that definitions are fluid, and you can change the definition of a human to being merely another biological machine on the planet. It's just another animal. No, we're not. And so the sanctity of human life becomes lost. It becomes degraded by that kind of thinking. This idea also degrades the significance of human life. It makes us not special in any way. And so really, if we lose, if we lose the human species, well, that's a shame, but no more of a shame than it is to lose a species of frog. And that's not true. There is a difference in humanity. There's a significance to humanity and our role in the world given to us by God that is lost when we redefine humans as being just another thing. We also we degrade the value of human life, because then you start to say, well, what's the difference? What's the value of a dog compared to a cat, or a cow compared to a horse, or a human compared to any other animal? And you start to devalue the value of a single human life, because it's no different, right? It's no different than the other animals. And so you see this degradation of human value, and then ultimately you degrade the potential and the obligation of humanity. If we are just other animals, then we can just follow our instincts, and we can just pursue human flourishing in a way that synergizes with the other species, and we can create symbiotic relationships with the world that suit us or don't suit us, and it doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of logistics or survival of the fittest or something like this, and it's just a very poor way to understand the potential and the obligation of humanity on the earth. Because we are not made like the animals, we have an obligation to be better than the animals. And because we were given dominion over the earth for God, in God's as God's representatives in His image, we have potential to do amazing things on this planet that the animals don't have potential to do. And that's important. And all of that I say to come back to the verse and say this: wisdom does not call out to the animals. Wisdom calls out to the humans on the planet. Wisdom, which is not just how to do something well, but how to do something morally. It calls out to humanity and says, be moral. When an animal kills another animal, there is nothing immoral about that. It's just animals being animals. But humans are called to wisdom, to a moral code that says we don't murder one another. And you can apply that to other things other than just killing, of course. But that key idea of wisdom calling out to humanity and to the children of humanity and saying, come to me and be wise. And that call isn't given to everything on the planet. Very important concept. Don't let modern anti-God thinkers trick you into degrading humanity by redefining humanity and treating humanity as nothing more than animals. This verse, at least, is calling not to the animals, but to you and to me and to our children, and saying, engage with God's wisdom, the moral code of God and the righteousness of God. Anyway, that's today's lesson. Tomorrow, God willing, we'll look at Proverbs chapter 8, verse 5. In the meantime, have a great evening, and God bless you.